Let's talk about the elephant in the room. We'll bring it back to Robin in just a little bit, but DeepSeek caused NVIDIA's worst day since 2020, $600 billion in market cap gone. Tanner, you have been the longest NVIDIA investor out of all of us. What is your raw take on this, and what impact do you think it has on the broader market?
Well, I mean, I was on the channel earlier talking with you, but I'm not too concerned. I knew this was a bear case over the weekend. Like this was concerning, but I would never have anticipated it was this much of a sell-off for NVIDIA. I think that they're still going to do very fine. I think a bunch of these companies are going to reaffirm their CapEx. I think it's whenever you see the smartest people in the world with the largest clusters in the world, talking to you, Elon, are coming out and saying this is like the way that they're describing this is not true. I gotta trust them a little bit. Why would he defend NVIDIA? What's his benefit here to defend spending a ton of money? I have a lot of belief that although what they're doing might be interesting and that there's ways to potentially save money here, that the TAM is potentially 1,000 times larger than what people think it is. And so NVIDIA is still going to be a large benefactor. I'm not selling.
Roy, your raw take on DeepSeek today?
Probably worth buying the dip on pretty much everything. So one, we don't know how real this is. So the product itself seems like it's incredibly real. It comps well to some of the better LLMs out there. So very good product. What is partly not real is the clickbait headline: 6 million, 5.5 million costs. Well, that's trading costs just on V3, and we're not even sure if that's accurate because people are forgetting that sometimes you can't trust technological breakthroughs and all the details directly from China, at least at first. You guys might remember, but August, really summer 2023, LK99 electromagnetism, that little floating thing that was such a big deal. It was a total and utter fraud, despite a white paper being published. Now, I don't think that this is a fraud. I think probably there's a good chance that the training costs and methodology are being exaggerated. But if that's not the case, or if that is either way, if there is some training cost savings, that's actually a really good thing for the market overall, rather than just the hyperscalers and the mega rich and wealthy having access to this. It gives broader access to a lot of people. It's much like the internet getting into hands of a lot of people instead of just the large and powerful telecom companies. So it's a really, really good thing long term. Short term, it could cause more pain in the markets. We could see more downside, and it could be painful. It's not the death of it, but it could be a little bit painful for NVIDIA. I'm not sure. I don't own NVIDIA. I'm interested in NVIDIA. If it keeps falling, I'll get really interested in NVIDIA. But no, I think this is an opportunity on pretty much everything else because long term, this is a really, really good thing and has really strong positive economic implications for almost everything.
Yeah, that is the highlight, right? Is that this is super bullish for markets, for just general the economy. Like more AI, better, cheaper, faster, potentially awesome. It's just whether or not it's going to be impactful for the next years or so, because a lot of the economic growth was supposed to be coming from spend, like building up the infrastructure for this next wave of growth, and maybe that buildup doesn't need to happen. But I am very skeptical that that's even going to be the case. I don't know if it's a magnet, but I just think there's so many things that are weird about this. Like this whole DeepSeek thing being top of the App Store too. I'm like, how's this even possible? Like, it doesn't even make sense to me. I don't get how they got there. It kind of feels like this could be a little bit of a campaign to stir up a market collapse. Like, I don't know. It's how did it get there? I saw it at the top of the App Store. It had 15 comments on the App Store. That doesn't happen. You're beating out ChatGPT with a couple million downloads.
Yeah, it's a little weird how quickly that spiked, and Yeah, well, we'll just have to keep an eye on it. It's interesting, and the great thing is like the timing really is actually not bad at all because it gives a few days, really over the weekend, and then plus a couple of days as well for some of the major hyperscalers who are doing earnings to report and just say, hey, yeah, well, but basically just to actually comment and throw in their 2 cents. So it's actually a really, really good thing, I think, as far as the timing. So I am guessing that the dip is fairly short lived on a lot of names. It might be longer in Nvidia. It might take a little bit longer to understand that. I'm not sure though. But yeah, this I don't think this derails the bull market. I saw somebody calling for a 30% correction in the Nasdaq, and it just like back to 2022 highs. I'm like, no, I don't think we're getting a market crash from this. It's like it's kind of like if we discover this amazing new energy source, and suddenly energy it can be accessed a lot more cheaply by almost everybody without barrier, within the next few years. Well, that's going to be terrible for the big oil companies and for Enphase and others too. But like overall, it's a fantastic thing for the market. This
Right.
is like that.
Now, it's important to make sure that just because it seems like a miracle product doesn't mean it's not true. Like
Yes.
GLP-1s, whenever they were first being looked at, I was like, yeah, well, I mean, this is going to cause cancer or something. Like, but then it just seems to be a miracle drug, and you're like, oh, well, I missed out on that. So, yeah,
Well,
it's
this
always
is
important to keep some level of optimism of like, oh, maybe this is just amazing breakthroughs.
My guess is that the training savings were overstated, and all the rest is real. Like maybe not the H800s, like that's the one other, but that doesn't really matter.
So this is what Sam Altman just said, literally right now. DeepSeek's R1 is an impressive model, particularly around what they've been able to deliver for the price. We will obviously deliver much better models, and also it's legit invigorating to have a new competitor. We will pull up some releases. But mostly we are excited to continue to execute on our research roadmap and believe more compute is more important now than ever. That means buy NVIDIA before to succeed at our mission. The world is going to want to use a lot of AI and really be quite amazed by the next gen models coming. Looking forward to bringing you all AGI and beyond.
So what do you think he's doing? He's holding up his own private valuation?
100%. But even if his valuation goes to shit, I don't think that's bearish NVIDIA. That's just bearish foundation model companies, right?
Yeah.
Well, hold on, because why would he say, a lot of compute is needed for this? That is a bet on GPUs. Okay. So he's not defending the foundational model. He's defending their spend.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's directly related to NVIDIA.
No, I know, but that's bullish NVIDIA to me. But regardless, if Meta can spend as much as OpenAI and make an open source model, he's not going to be able to defend his valuation, but he can still defend the necessity to spend on GPUs, right?
I know. I don't care about OpenAI. I just care about.
Yeah. So you and I agree. It's bullish NVIDIA, 100%.
But I just don't know if he's actually if what he's saying is that he truly believes that, or he's defending his valuation. And by valuation, I mean they're like, because they just said a week ago, hey, we've got $100 billion going out, day one, Stargate project, all this stuff. And oh, by the way, none of this is needed because you can train for much cheaper. Obviously, they don't mean that you don't need billions of dollars, but potentially much less. Are they defending the Stargate investment? Or like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I guess we're going to find out over the next couple of weeks with big tech earnings. I mean, this is going to be the number one question for all these CEOs. It's like, do you need to keep spending on CapEx? And if they say no, which I don't think, Zuck said on Friday, they're going to spend $65 billion. If that changes in 5 days, then we have an issue.
I think all the big companies are going to say they're spending, and all the secondary companies that aren't buying directly, like Salesforce and ServiceNow and all these companies, are going to say, hey, look how good DeepSeek is. And AMD and all those businesses are going to hype up DeepSeek, and all the leading companies are not going to defend it at all. That's my bet, 100%.
Okay, so let's bring it back to Hood then. We had about 6% decline on Hood. I sold some puts at 47. So took advantage of a dip from that perspective. Do you guys think this means anything for Hood, or it's a down day because the Nasdaq was down?
I mean, it's largely, just being caught up. I think the fear of some people, maybe the reason why Robinhood sold off a little bit more aggressively than you would expect. Well, it's run up a lot. And so I've seen that in a lot of other names. I mean, it sold off more than Palantir. So that was like, pretty impressive. But B, I think that there were some people, and I saw it, and they're not even perma bears that were necessarily saying that. They're basically calling for a correction or a crash from this. And if that was the case, I mean, yeah, that would hurt Robinhood. We've talked about its cyclicality. However, I don't know how long this dip will last. I don't think it'll last too long. We're still in a bull market. I highly, highly doubt that we get a crash. Something a lot more would have to happen. And, the long term, I think that lowering the training costs and increasing the accessibility for companies and individuals to this is very bullish for the macro and thus very bullish for the markets. A lot of between just companies that exist right now and a lot of future startups that'll have access to this and be able to be created, very efficiently, very cheaply with, very pristine valuations. All of that is good for the market, and that's great for Robinhood. So I bought some of the dip today, and the number one buy that I had, Robinhood.
Tanner,
Wow.
your thoughts on if Hood benefits from all this or doesn't?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll just be pretty like the same way I looked at it before. This is roaring 20s. Before these models or not, I think it's still roaring 20s. It's just a matter of who is the benefactors now. Is it the tech companies or the infrastructure plays? And I think before Friday, it was the infrastructure plays, the picks and shovels are the real winners. And now it's going to translate into the companies that are going to use it. Like Amazon is going to be probably one of the largest benefactors. And, companies like this that utilize AI on their everyday. Robinhood, SoFi, all the companies that aren't pouring all this money into the back end side are going to benefit from DeepSeek and love this move.
What about Palantir, Tanner?
I'm sure they benefit. I'm sure they do.
I think that they will a lot, actually. I think I saw this. Palantir fell like everything else. Well, not everything. PayPal was up, but Amit, what do you think about implications? I know we're talking Hood Weekly, but I'm just kind of curious. Positive, negative, neutral for Palantir?
This is great for Palantir. Palantir's been saying this forever, right? They've been saying that this whole LLM bullshit is bullshit. Like spending all this money to train on these models is great, but these models need to have a purpose. So I think Palantir has been vindicated today to some extent of how important it is to actually implement the models. I mean, like we can still spend as much as we need to build better and better models, but it's kind of a great position for Palantir because all they need to do is show top line growth in the enterprise of implementing those models, not spending the hundreds of or the tens of billions in building it. So they fell today because they're a high beta stock and they're growth stock. So they went down with the market, but I think it's good for Palantir. I also think it's good for Hood because if this is a buy the dip, more people are putting money into their Hood app. More people are buying options today, selling options, buying back covered calls. I mean, more people are probably just taking advantage of this opportunity as they did on August 5th. I mean, Vlad said they had $500 million of deposits on one day when there was that aggressive of a dip. So, I mean, if that's the case, maybe this ends up helping Hood to end out January.
Yeah, there's a lot of volume on the overnight market too for Robinhood. Well, not for Robinhood. Like we see it, the number that we see on the Robinhood app, it's for boats, so it's not all Robinhood, but a good chunk of it does go through Robinhood. So yeah, doesn't hurt.
Right.